Morning, everyone. Apologies for the delay. Today's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Basfaivel, Binyamin Akiva ben Shlomo Rav Yaakov ben David Aryeh, Tzipora Fegel, Basum Bora, Paul Kazimir, Shalom ben Elili, ben Basfaivel from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Caleb Bela Bas Henech, Yom Yochir ben Moshe Eliezer, Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin Shlomo Yochir ben Moshe Yeshua Levi, Avram Mordechai ben Moshe Katner, Aryeh ben Shimon, as well as the yortzites for today, which are Leib ben Yechiel Grant, Chana Bas Eliezer Melchek, Leib ben Yechiel Grant, Meir Besson ben Laban Lankin, and Blima Bas Moshe Yeshua Cohen Speedwell. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the delay. As you can see, it is we're the wandering Jews today, and therefore I have pulled over. Since I'm not going to be back in Woodside Park, I can't split myself in a million pieces. So we are in the car. Okay. So this, I guess, is the carpool Mishnah of the day. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 4 we're up to. Coming up today, I've got a real treat for you. 2 fascinating Mishnayos. Here's the first one for you. Things that you can literally keep in your pocket and pull out whenever you need it. Okay? Okay, 1 minute. We just turn the page. I'm holding the camera at the moment. Okay, so the Mishnah goes as follows. Ramasya ben Choresh Omer. Sorry, that one we've done. Next page. Sorry, just turned the wrong page. Okay, here we are. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, don't appease your friend at a time of his anger. And then the Mishnah goes on to say, don't console a person while his dead lies in front of him. The Mishnah goes on to say, do not question him about his vow at the time he makes it. Don't attempt to see him at the time of his degradation. What is the connection? These are such relevant things. So often I go to Shivas, Levayas, and you hear people make the most peculiar statements which are so inappropriate at that particular moment in time. Similarly, sometimes when you can see somebody is in a state of anger or rage, and you see somebody that decides to say something to them, and clearly that person should not be spoken to at the time. So what is the Mishnah teaching us? And this is a lesson in working with people, which is so important for all of us. Okay, it's all about the importance of the proper timing. That's what Rebbe Elazar is teaching us. So when a person is in a state of anger, they're out of control, they've lost themselves. They need time to calm down. They need time to work through, to process the issues. It is completely the wrong time to try to reason with them. Now, we all know this, but we don't necessarily practice it, do we? We get very, we see somebody who's angry. It could be a child, it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, and immediately we've got to come up with logical arguments, a rationale about why they are wrong. It's not going to work. You might as well speak to the brick wall, okay? So when a person is angry, the best thing you can say to them is, clearly I can see that you're very upset about this issue. It's not the right time for us to talk now. When you've calmed down or when you are ready, then of course I'm ready to speak to you about it, okay? You validate their feelings. You recognize that they're in a lot of pain, okay? And you make it clear you want to discuss it, but you're not prepared to discuss it when they are in such an irrational state of anger or rage. That's point number one. The second one is related to it. When a person has suffered a personal loss, when they are mourning, right? What's the language of the Mishnah? The Mishnah says that we're dealing with, where is it? Sorry. When the person's dead is in front of them, it doesn't just mean literally in front of them. It means when they are literally in the aftermath of that bereavement. Okay. Now, for one person, it may be literally when the dead is in front of them. For another person, it may be the first day of
it may be the first day of their mourning, right? Let me just, believe it or not, I've got to move my car whilst I'm doing this. Just reverse back into the space. Hold on 1 second. Now I'm going to move forward to allow the person to go. Believe it or not, it's a member of our shul, ironically. Okay, so the Mishnah is telling us when a person is bereft, they literally are in a state of angst, and anguish and sorrow. You have to give a person time to come to terms with their tremendous loss. Again, to process it. It's not the time. Sometimes you go to a shiva and well-meaning people will walk in and what do they say? It's all for the best. They were suffering, or they were, clearly, their time had come, or look at the big picture. All these things rationally up here make sense, but when a person's in a state of anger and mourning, clearly it is the wrong thing to say. We're meant to be with them. Ima anochi v'tzara, meant to be with them when a person is mourning or in any state of emotion, right? We're meant to be present with them. It's very hard. We don't feel comfortable. We feel we're making ourselves vulnerable when we are with somebody else in their pain, in their anger, in their upset. But that is the challenge. That is the greatness that we can achieve. That is when you see great people, instead of trying to close it up and try to move on, very often at Shiva, it's a very superficial experience for many. They just say, yeah, and they move on. They don't actually want to hear about somebody else's sorrow or pain. As opposed to if you were in therapy, which is really what a Shiva in a way is you would say, well, tell me more. I want to understand. I want to feel your pain, right? There's a difference between, we've mentioned this once before. Listen carefully, because I learned this in psychotherapy. There is a difference. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? Empathy and sympathy. Imagine somebody is down, they've fallen into a pit. So this is the analogy that one of the psychotherapists gives. Okay, they say that when a person is in a state of, when you are giving sympathy, right? Somebody's down the hole, then you shine a light down there and you say, oh, it must be very difficult for you down there. That's sympathy, right? Empathy, right, is when I climb down, right, and I feel what it's like for the other person. That is what we are meant to do when a person is an ovel, or when person is going through any type of trauma or ordeal or hardship. Climb down into the hole, into the space where they are, and then feel their pain. And when you're able to really connect with them on the deepest of levels, then you feel, the person feels that connection. They feel supported. They feel the load is lightened. Why? Because you are with them. You're saying to them, I'm going to lift that burden. I'm going to shine a little bit of light in your darkness. It's challenging because it takes so much out of us to emotionally connect in such a way and to make ourselves open and vulnerable. But what you are doing for the other person, it can be life-saving. It can be life-changing. So that's the message for today. Okay, now we will wrap things up. I was going to do another Mishnah, but I appreciate it's getting late and people have things to do. It's Erev Pesach. Shopping is around the clock now, apparently. Good morning, Peter, Mervyn, Caroline, David, Richard, Estelle, and everyone else. I'm holding it with one phone so I can't scroll. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Memorial prayer. Adon Olamim leZachres Nishmas ben Yamanikiv ben Shlomo Leah Bas Feivel Rab Yaakov Tzvi ben David Aryeh Sipor Feigelov the Bas Reuven Baruch Paul Kazmish Shalom ben Elali ben Bas Feivel from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel Caleb ben Bas Henach Yom Yaucheh ben Moshe Eliezer Sar Malka Bas ben Yom Shlomo Yechia ben Yeshua Levi Avram Mordechai ben Moshe Katna Aryeh ben Shimon. And the yacht sites for today, Yafetz Bas Shmuel Yitzchak Sinclair Leah ben Yechiel Grant Chana Bas Eliezer Malchek Leah ben Yechiel Grant, Meir ben Levin Lakin, and Blima Bas Moshe Shua Cohen Speedwell Shal Cholil Amambag and Aiden Teimanucha Sam Lachim Balarachamim Yasirim Vesesa Kana Pablo Lamim V'Yitzvah Zechesish Masam Adonai Nachlasam V'Anuchu B'Shlomish Kavam V'Nama Amen. Long life wishes, Refuah Shlema prayer. Still people unwell. Misha Be'er Chavasein Rabbi Yisrael Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarech Rab Pesach Chaylim. Bavo Shanu Mispalim Bavo Ram Bismas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachem Aleichem Lachman Chosam Yishlach Lehem Fushlim Neshmaim L'Chorim B'So Shach Yisrael Refuah Sad Nefesh V'Sakov Hashem V'Sman Karev V'Nama Amen. Recognize where we are. Yeah. Okay. You know where we are now. Okay. So that's it for today. Somebody who was a young widow shared with me. This will conclude. Shared with me some of the letters she received after the passing of her young husband Nebuch, and the one was from a non-Jew that he worked with, a non-Jewish PA. And the letters were so insightful because, friends, the difference between when you empathize and when you sympathize, or when you are indifferent to somebody else's plight, are night and day. And this lady said that what gave her such strength was when people were able to really feel her pain and to share with her their recollections of how they remembered him. And she clasped onto those memories, and that got her through some of the darkest of days that lay ahead of her. Friends, we have the opportunity when we go to a shiva, eventually when we're allowed into shiva houses, or when somebody comes and tells us that they're going to, when they share a part of their life, don't be indifferent. It's hard for us to hear things that we're uncomfortable with, but try to relate to it. Try to climb down into the pit in which that person is and stand with them, even if it's just for a moment, and experience what they're going through. And I can assure you, it is life. You are literally saving their lives. You are lifting the burden from them. That's food for thought for today. Please God, I'm afraid we'll be back at an earlier time tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. But tomorrow is 6:45, and then 7 o'clock on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Take care, have a great day, and enjoy the panic as the big shopping day for Pesach begins.